There is a place where the Earth is still being born, where lava flows meet glaciers in violent collision, where geysers erupt on schedule and waterfalls thunder into canyons carved by ice. A land so geologically restless that the ground itself steams, shifts, and occasionally splits open to reveal the molten core beneath. Iceland, an island nation of 103,000 square kilometers perched on the mid-Atlantic ridge where the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates pull apart at a rate of 2 centimeters per year. This geological violence creates a landscape found nowhere else on Earth. Volcanoes erupt every few years. Glaciers cover 11% of the land. Geothermal energy bubbles from the ground. Hot springs dot the wilderness. The northern lights dance across winter skies, while the midnight sun refuses to set in summer. This is a country of 380,000 people, most living in Reykjavik, leaving vast areas completely uninhabited. The interior is an uninhabitable highland desert of black sand, glaciers, and volcanic rock. The coastal ring road connects scattered towns and villages where life revolves around fishing, tourism, and adapting to weather that changes by the hour. The Vikings settled Iceland in 874 AD, finding an island with forests and milder climate. They cut down the trees, grazed sheep, and watched as erosion transformed the landscape. For centuries, Iceland was among Europe's poorest nations. Then came hydroelectric power, geothermal energy, aluminum smelting, and eventually tourism. Now, visitors outnumber residents 10 to 1, coming to witness geology in action on an island that feels like another planet. Reykjavik is the world's northernmost capital, home to 130,000 people, roughly 1/3 of Iceland's entire population. The city sits on a peninsula where steam rises from the ground, giving it the name Smoky Bay, when Vikings first arrived. The Hallgrímskirkja church dominates the skyline, a 74-meter-tall concrete structure designed to resemble basalt columns formed by cooling lava. From its tower, the city spreads below, in a colorful patchwork of corrugated metal houses painted in bright reds, blues, and greens against the gray North Atlantic. The old harbor has transformed from a working fishing port into a tourist district where whale-watching boats depart daily. The Sun Voyager sculpture sits on the waterfront, a steel skeleton of a Viking ship facing the mountains across Faxaflói Bay. And Harper Concert Hall gleams with geometric glass panels reflecting sky and sea. Despite being a capital, Reykjavik retains a small-town feel where the Prime Minister walks to work, and everyone seems to know everyone else. The Golden Circle is Iceland's most famous tourist route, a 300-kilometer loop from Reykjavik, visiting 3 iconic sites in a single day. Tour buses depart every morning, filled with visitors who will see a waterfall, a geyser, and a national park before returning by dinner. The route was created by tourism companies in the 1990s, packaging Iceland's most accessible wonders into a convenient circuit. It works because the 3 sites represent Iceland's essential character: geological violence, natural power, and historical significance. During summer, the Golden Circle becomes congested with coaches, rental cars, and selfie seekers. In winter, the same route transforms into a challenging drive through ice and darkness. The northern lights often appear above the sites during winter months, adding aurora to the experience. Gullfoss, the Golden Falls, thunders down 2 tiers, dropping 32 meters into a narrow canyon carved by the Vitar River. The water originates from Langjökull Glacier, carrying glacial silt that gives it a milky turquoise color. On sunny days, rainbows arc through the mist, rising from the falls. In winter, ice forms on the surrounding rocks, while the water continues to flow, creating sculptures of frozen spray. In the early 20th century, foreign investors planned to harness Gullfoss for hydroelectric power. Sigridur Tómasdóttir, daughter of the landowner, walked to Reykjavik repeatedly to protest, threatening to throw herself into the falls if the project proceeded. The plan was eventually abandoned. Today, a memorial honors her, and Gullfoss remains free-flowing, protected as a natural monument to the power of individual determination. The Geyser geothermal area sits in the Haukatalua Valley, where steam rises from the earth and hot springs bubble continuously. The original geyser, which gave its name to all geysers worldwide, rarely erupts anymore, its activity diminished by earthquakes and human interference over centuries. But Strokka, located just meters away, erupts every 5 to 10 minutes, shooting water 15 to 40 meters into the air with perfect reliability. Tourists gather around it in a circle, cameras ready, waiting for the moment when the water dome swells and explodes upward. The smell of sulfur hangs in the air. Wooden walkways guide visitors through the geothermal field, past smaller hot springs and fumaroles where the ground is literally too hot to touch. The blue water in the pools looks inviting, but would scald flesh instantly at temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Celsius. Thingvellir National Park is where the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates pull apart, creating a rift valley visible to the naked eye. The Almannagjá Gorge marks the edge of the North American plate, a cliff where you can walk along the continental divide. The valley widens by 2 centimeters every year as the plates separate. but Thingvellir significance extends beyond geology. In 930 AD, Iceland's chieftains established the Alþingi here, one of the world's oldest parliaments. For centuries, Icelanders gathered annually at Thingvellir to make laws, settle disputes, and conduct executions. The law rock, Lögberg, is where the law speaker recited laws from memory before they were written down. Today, Thingvellir is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Silfra fissure between the plates offers the world's clearest water where divers swim between continents. Seljalandsfoss drops 60 meters over a cliff that once marked Iceland's southern coastline before the sea retreated. What makes this waterfall unique is the pathway behind it. Visitors can walk completely behind the falling water, experiencing it from an angle impossible at most waterfalls. The path is wet, slippery, and often muddy, but the perspective is worth the discomfort. Looking out through the water curtain toward the green plains beyond creates a frame that photographers cannot resist. In winter, ice forms around the falls, and the path behind it closes due to danger from falling ice. In summer, sunset lasts for hours, backlighting the falls in golden light. Nearby, Gljufrabui hides in a narrow canyon. A secret waterfall requiring visitors to wade through a stream to enter its chamber where water falls into a hidden grotto. Skogafoss is one of Iceland's largest waterfalls at 25 meters wide and 60 meters tall. The sheer volume of water crashing down creates constant mist, and rainbows form on sunny days, sometimes double rainbows that arc across the entire falls. According to legend, a Viking settler named Thrasi hid a treasure chest in a cave behind the waterfall. A local boy once found the chest and grabbed the ring on its side, but the chest disappeared back into the cave, leaving him with only the ring. The ring was later given to the local church, where it hung for years. Whether the rest of the treasure remains behind Skogafoss, no one knows. Stairs climb up the right side of the waterfall, 527 steps to the top, where the Skoga River flows peacefully before dropping over the edge. From above, the view extends across the coastal plains to the ocean. Before we venture further along Iceland's dramatic southern coast, take a moment to subscribe to Global Lux Journeys. We travel to the world's most extraordinary destinations, from geothermal wonders to ancient cultures, capturing the beauty and power of our planet before it changes. Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an adventure to the places where nature shows its most spectacular face. Reynisfjara is a black sand beach where the North Atlantic crashes against volcanic sand with violent force. The sand isn't sand in the traditional sense, but pulverized volcanic rock and basalt, dark as coal and heavy as stone. Basalt columns rise from the cliff face in perfect hexagons, formed when lava cooled and contracted. The Reynisdranger sea stacks stand offshore, basalt pillars rising from the ocean. Legend says they're trolls caught by sunrise and turned to stone. The waves at Reynisfjara are deadly. Sneaker waves, larger than the rest, surge up the beach without warning, pulling tourists into water so cold that survival time is measured in minutes. Warning signs in multiple languages tell visitors to never turn their back on the ocean. Several people have died here, dragged into the Atlantic by waves they didn't see coming. Yet tourists continue to approach the water's edge, taking photos, underestimating the power of the North Atlantic. Vík í Mýrdal is Iceland's southernmost village, a cluster of houses home to 300 people who live in the shadow of Katla volcano. Katla is one of Iceland's most dangerous volcanoes, overdue for eruption. When it erupts, and scientists say it's a matter of when, not if, the glacial ice covering it will melt instantly, sending massive floods called jökulhlaup toward Vík. Evacuation plans are in place. Sirens are tested regularly. Residents live with this knowledge daily. Above the village, the red-roofed Reyniskirkja church sits on a hill. The designated evacuation point where villagers should flee if Katla erupts. From the church, the view spans the black sand beaches, the Reynisdranger stacks, and the ocean stretching to Antarctica. Despite the volcanic threat, Vík has become a major tourist stop with hotels, restaurants, and shops serving the constant flow of ring road travelers. Jökulsárlónis, a glacial lagoon filled with icebergs that have carved off the Breiðamerkurjökull glacier, an outlet of the massive Vatnajökull ice cap. The lagoon didn't exist 100 years ago. It formed as the glacier retreated, leaving a depression that filled with meltwater. Now, it's Iceland's deepest lake at 248 meters, deeper than most of Iceland's coastal waters. Icebergs drift silently through the lagoon, ranging from car-sized chunks to blocks as large as houses. They're impossibly blue, a color created by compressed ice so dense it absorbs all light except blue wavelengths. Seals swim between the icebergs, hunting fish. Boat tours navigate carefully through the ice. The lagoon's outlet to the ocean is visible, where icebergs float out to sea, beginning journeys that may carry them to Europe. At sunset, the ice glows pink and orange. In winter, the northern lights reflect off the icebergs in green and purple waves. Diamond Beach sits directly across the ring road from Jökulsárlón, where icebergs that float out of the lagoon wash back onto black sand beaches. The contrast is absolute. Black sand, clear ice. The icebergs range from pebble-sized to chunks bigger than cars, scattered across the beach like diamonds on black velvet. The ice is ancient, formed from snow that fell centuries ago and compressed into glacial ice. As the icebergs melt on the beach, they create sculptures, hollows, and formations that change by the hour. Photographers arrive at sunrise when low light makes the ice glow from within. Waves surge around the ice, polishing it smooth. Some chunks are so clear you can read through them. Others contain volcanic ash from eruptions centuries past, creating dark streaks through the ice. Within days, each iceberg will melt completely and replaced by new ice washing ashore in an endless cycle of frozen creation and destruction. Vatnajökull National Park covers 14% of Iceland, making it Europe's largest national park. At its center lies Vatnajökull, Iceland's largest ice cap, covering 8,100 square kilometers with ice up to 1,000 meters thick. Beneath the ice lie several active volcanoes, including Grímsvötn and Bardarbunga, creating the surreal combination of ice and fire. When these volcanoes erupt beneath the ice, they melt massive quantities of water that burst from the glacier in catastrophic floods. The park encompasses diverse landscapes, glaciers, volcanic deserts, canyons, waterfalls, and geothermal areas. Skaftafell, once a separate park, is now part of Vatnajökull. Here, outlet glaciers descend from the ice cap, their tongues reaching toward the lowlands. Hiking trails lead to glacier viewpoints and the stunning Svartifoss waterfall surrounded by basalt columns. The park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized for its unique geology and the ongoing processes that shape Iceland. In 1973, a US Navy DC-3 ran out of fuel and crashed on Sólheimasandur's black sand desert. All crew members survived. The military stripped the plane of useful parts and abandoned the fuselage on the sand where it has sat for 50 years, slowly deteriorating but still recognizable. The white shell against black sand creates an otherworldly scene, like a spacecraft crashed on an alien planet. For years, visitors could drive directly to the wreck. Then tourism increased and the landowner closed the road. Now, it requires a 4-kilometer walk each way across the Black Desert, flat and featureless except for the plain. In summer, the walk is manageable. In winter, the wind screams across the sand with nothing to block it, carrying ice and volcanic grit that stings exposed skin. And the wreck has become one of Iceland's most photographed sites, despite, or perhaps because of its difficulty to reach. The plane is slowly collapsing. How much longer it will remain standing is uncertain. The Blue Lagoon is Iceland's most famous geothermal spa, a milky blue pool of seawater heated by the Svartsengi geothermal power plant. The lagoon is entirely man-made, created accidentally in 1976 when water from the power plant formed a pool in the surrounding lava field. People began bathing in the warm water and reported that the silica-rich water improved skin conditions. The lagoon was formalized as a spa in the 1980s. Today, it's a luxury resort with admission prices reaching $100. The water maintains a temperature between 37 and 39 degrees Celsius year-round. White silica mud is available at stations around the lagoon for guests to apply as a face mask. Despite being artificial, the Blue Lagoon has become synonymous with Iceland in tourist imagination. It's crowded, expensive, and commercialized. Yet floating in warm blue water while snow falls and northern lights shimmer overhead creates an undeniably surreal experience that feels quintessentially Icelandic. From the tectonic rift at Thingvellir to the glacial lagoons of the southeast. From the geothermal fields of Mývatn to the black sand beaches of Reynisfjara. Iceland is not a country, but a geological showcase where the Earth's internal processes play out on the surface for anyone to witness. In few places on Earth can you see geology so actively. Volcanoes erupt every few years, reshaping landscapes overnight. Glaciers retreat visibly, carving new valleys. Earthquakes rattle the island weekly. The mid-Atlantic ridge splits Iceland down the middle, pulling the island apart, millimeter by millimeter, year after year. This geological violence created a landscape that feels ancient and newborn simultaneously. Iceland is Earth's laboratory, the place where you can watch creation and destruction happening in real time, and where fire and ice wage eternal war for dominance. Modern Iceland barely resembles the Iceland of even 50 years ago. Tourism has transformed the economy. Roads reach places that were wilderness, yet the land remains untamed. The glaciers don't care how many tourists photograph them. The volcanoes erupt on their own schedule. The weather changes without warning. Nature here remains in charge, tolerating human presence but never conquered by it. Subscribe to Global Lux Journeys to continue exploring the world's most spectacular destinations, where nature displays its raw power and timeless beauty. Click subscribe and join us on journeys to the edges of the earth, where adventure and wonder await. Let's explore this vast and beautiful world together before time transforms what we see today into tomorrow's memories.